I was regarded at Harvard Business School as being a communist.
Ken is fun, and Ken is a great friend to Barbie.
There's no empathy measure on most people's performance reviews. But if you don't have that, I think it's almost impossible to be an excellent marketer.
The brand manager is the general manager of the brand.
I was just this fat unit, you know what I mean, in a suit, and it was clear that I was not the same as the others.
Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of Better Marketing. Today we're focusing on AXA, and I've got the absolute privilege of talking to the Group Chief Officer of Communications, Brand and Sustainability. Quite a mouthful, and I'm sure I won't be able to resist talking about why Ulrike is not the Chief Marketing Officer. But Ulrike, welcome. What a privilege for us to get you to join us for a podcast, especially given how busy you must be knowing your results are upcoming.
Thank you very much, David. Thanks a lot. It's a pleasure.
Well, that really appreciate it, because I know for a Chief Communications Officer what a nightmare these days can be. So you're looking remarkably relaxed, I have to say.
I'm trying.
Good. So I thought we could start with you sharing a little bit about AXA and a little bit about AXA's purpose, because I know a fair bit about AXA, but many of our viewers, listeners may not. And you are indeed, I think you're France's fourth biggest company, amongst other things, and very purpose-driven. So over to you. Please tell us.
Thank you, David. Thank you. Yes, we are. Yeah, we are one of the largest financial companies in the world, and clearly among the big, large CAC 40 companies in France. We are a 40-year-old company, so it's a rather young project, I would say, but with very strong roots in the past of insurance across Europe and France particularly. And I would say it's really something, being purpose-driven is probably something that is very close to the DNA of the company. I always love going back to the founder's time in the 80s, the way he gathered so many different companies that he started to acquire across the globe to make it an international company. And the way he gathered those companies was really to work and to make clear to everyone what was the purpose of that group of people coming together in this industry, which is about protection. And so a couple of years ago, when I started my role, we were very lucky because the company wanted to sort of revive that sense of purpose and see if it was still there, and see if we had to build something different and how we could actually use it. And we did this incredible work with all of our employees, but also external stakeholders, to understand what do we stand for? What do our people think we stand for? What do they get up for every morning? And what is the external world expecting of us? And it was actually, I have to say, a pretty easy job for us, because the idea of protection was clearly still at the center. It's an interesting one because it's one that sometimes insurance companies, you might think they want to tend away because it can seem a little bit old-fashioned. Are we going to be able to get people excited about protection? So clearly this was what resonated with our different stakeholders. Protection was about two things. It was about what we stand for, what we can bring to our customers, which is, of course, protecting their wealth, their families, their assets, their businesses, but also the fact that insurance is based on mutualization. So insurance is about sharing the risks. And it was felt that in today's society, where these risks seem ever-present, interconnected, kind of uncontrollable, the contribution that in the insurance industry can bring to society which is all about resilience, but also protecting that willingness of sticking together and looking at the future with hopefully a little bit of confidence, was something really important. So we connected the protection aspect to another one, which we hesitated calling, are we working together for a better world, a better future? And we ended up with this concept of progress, which not a lot of companies are using, because it's already a statement to think that progress is still something that can bring people forward. It's linked to, of course, the French 18th centuries with the belief in human progress, but also science, innovation, entrepreneurialism. And so we managed to build that purpose around this concept, which is now, alive for close to 5 years, very present in everything we do. And of course, also in our brand communications, in the way we reach out to customers. So it's really, I would say, infusing everything we do as a company in terms of the culture and the business that we're trying to build.
Ulrike, I love companies that focus on the reality of what they actually do and attach it to proper purposeful action. And I particularly like your focus on progress, but probably the thing I like most about what I read is it features the word human, so human progress. And because I'm a big fan of brands being built from the inside out, can you talk a little bit about how you've engaged with, I think you're almost 150,000 people around the world now. So what does it mean for them? How do they see the purpose working?
We do have close to 150,000 employees and agents across the world, of course, in very different markets. So the way we bring these people along, the way we help them project themselves in growing their careers, in having an impact is extremely important. Has always been, since the inception, a very progressive company when it comes to how it treated its people, how it was looking at what it means to be an employee of this company. We're one of the first companies using, for example, anonymous CVs in the 90s. One of the first companies engaging into unions dialogue in a much more proactive way than what regulation was calling for. And we've actually applied those quite European, I would say, policies to the whole world. So parental policy leave, inclusion policies. Now we're all focused on well-being, mental health. What can we do for our employees, women or non-women, to protect them from whatever violence they're exposed in their homes? So I think the caring and well-being is really something that we value a lot. But we want to combine it with an aspect that is also very important, which is how do we get our people to feel empowered, to feel that they can bring their ideas, their energy to work. And I'm not going to lie, we all have this concept of insurance companies being extremely bureaucratic and extremely slow animals, right? And it's true to some extent because we're extremely regulated. We work on very complex topics. We have strong legacy, we have big enforced books. So we shouldn't lie to our people and say, come to work at AXA, it's like a startup. It's not. But we still want to create a culture where this energy and the idea of being an entrepreneur is something that can happen. The largest direct insurance company active in the French market was created by one intrapreneur at AXA, and we still own that company. We have created from inside the group one of the largest asset management companies. So entrepreneurship is something that we value and we're able to support over time. So combining those two aspects is really important. And then connecting it back to the purpose. Very early on, it was important for us to see how can we bring our employees on that journey of making an impact in society. And there's one program that I'm especially fond of, which is called AXA Hearts in Action, which also dates back to the 80s. You're going to start thinking this company hasn't invented anything new since it was founded, right? But so we have a couple of new things going on. But I like these roots that we're still cultivating, and we got 30% of our employees who are actually volunteering in NGOs, associations, very often on their working time. So we give them free time on their working hours to engage. And we have set a new target now for the end of our strategic plan to reach 50% of engaged employees in social or environmental volunteering. So this is how we kind of try to bring the sense of purpose also to our employees. And we all know that with everything that is affecting the way we see work, the way we think about our working environment, what it means in our lives, we believe that these two aspects of care and dare, and then the societal impact, are the way we can keep, our talents, grow them, win more talents who can, come and join us over time.
Very good. And to link a little bit that risk management with your brand building, I know that you've been a champion of women's causes, and I was particularly intrigued to see that you did a brand campaign around being a woman shouldn't be a risk. Can you tell us a little bit about that, how it worked, what the metrics were there? And obviously it's a passion for you to
Yeah.
make sure this risk is fully aligned. And we like that because of the diversity and inclusion agenda.
It's very interesting that the risk topic, which has always been our core, kind of core substance of what we do, is now so much in the spotlight. I mean, 10 to 15 years ago, we would never probably have dreamed of putting the concept of risk at the heart of a brand campaign. Branding and insurance was always about promoting something different, peace of mind, safety, etc. Now, we see that this is really top of mind. We get a lot of questions from our customers, from companies, from regulators, asking about the topic of insurability. And it seems to us that this is really, if we look at the risk landscape, which we analyze every year, we have a report that is very popular that is called the Future Risk Report, where we sort of survey 20,000, 25,000 people in terms of their risk perception. So we really see there is no escape to tackling that question. Will you still be around to, guarantee my protection and bring me solutions of the past years? If you look at climate risks, changing health risks, technological risks. And so we decided to, building on our brand promise, which is Know You Can, which is this call for optimism, that we needed in the next couple of years to take this topic head on. What we put behind is a lot of very concrete business proofs around, finding new solutions to tackle climate change risks, cyber risks, new health, growing health risks that we see arising. But we say rather than go on a branding level to one of those very concrete business topics, there's one transversal one that runs through all of them, which is the overexposure of women to risks and the fact that we see in our portfolios across the globe that they're underrepresented. So in France, we're piloting, I always love giving this example, in France, we're piloting a home insurance product that has as a guarantee for women or men or children or any family member that lives under that roof suffering domestic violence, we offer the same relocation guarantees, for example, as for a fire or a flood. So we try to sort of innovate in our products to see how we can, bring these additional guarantees and support to women. This was last year. This year we have focused on self-employed. We see that the demographic and work structure in our societies is changing. We have more and more freelancers. We have more and more people doing 2 or 3 different jobs. So what is the insurance product that you invent for these people? And so this is, all what is at the heart of this concept. Why should the future be a risk? And we started with the women topic.
And actually, speaking of future risks, obviously climate change is one we're all living, suffering, worrying about. And I see you've got some pretty rigorous targets that you set and ambitious ones. And I know, again, I think asking this, what the answer is going to be, are you measured against those targets? Is there kind of an incentive for delivery here for the management committee and for others?
We do have some, since 2015, when we announced that we would stop investing in coal, which we have, really been phasing out since then, and then additional measures to move on our net zero journey. I think it's really interesting that these topics are becoming slightly, politicized and criticized. When you're an insurance company, you can not hide about the fact that climate change is claiming more and more costs to the economy, to people, etc. So there's a real business rationale in trying to align your assets and your liability side of the balance sheet, right? So we do have this net zero journey that where we hope that we will align our investments, our insurance portfolios to an economy that really is aligned with the Paris Agreement. In the meantime, while we're doing this, because it's a long-term journey, what we see arising as well, and where we see even more expectations from our customers, from different stakeholders, is what are we doing in the meantime to help people adapt to climate change? Because it's here. The damages are real. And what are we doing to not only finance, but also ensure the transition? So there was an interesting study by, I think it was BCG and Wheldon, that there's $10 trillion new sort of economic goods that still don't have an insurance solution. And so I think probably what our external stakeholders are expecting from us is, of course, to walk the talk on the net zero journey, but is also from our business, what are the new solutions that we're offering to ensure the transition, to fund it, and also to help people adapt their homes, their livelihoods to the impacts of climate change, which we are learning to know and to model. We're working, I think a quite telling example, we're working with some cognac companies in the region of Cognac. How will you produce cognac in 20 years from now if you follow the heat patterns? What does it mean in terms of adapting your business to the realities of climate change? So there's a whole new spectrum there of expertise, skills, and solutions that the insurance industry can engage in. And we're definitely quite excited about them. And on your question on how do we incentivize the business on that, we have 30% of the long-term targets of our executives are linked to ESG. They're linked to diversity in the executive population. They're linked to climate, and they're linked to their own operations emissions. And then we have also set targets in terms of developing those new business areas that we see arising with adaptation and transition.
That's fantastic, because we don't often talk about this notion that what gets measured gets done, and also when it gets done, it should be rewarded. So it's good to hear, because I think it'll take companies like AXA to focus on this to protect us long term in the future. And in your strategic plan, which I think runs 24 to 26, you're talking about investing more in tech as you seek to unlock the future and to embrace the power of AI. I wonder if we could talk about that a little bit. How do you see AI impacting your role, specifically the brand and the marketing bit? And then we'll broaden out, because I have a couple of questions around this.
Yeah, I mean, no surprise there. It's clearly, first, as an insurance company, our key assets are people, and then it's data. So basically, there's no way around it. I mean, there's clearly a transition there, and a technology that we need to master, that we need to upskill our people to learn about and see what are the main areas where we can really leverage it to the benefit of the customers. What I find interesting in the adoption of these new, of the new AI, Gen AI technologies, is I think we learn from each technological wave. Companies learn more and more. And when I compare it with, maybe 10, 15 years ago, the sort of first digital revolution, I think there's more cold feet, I would say, and cold head to it. I think everyone is contemplating it with probably a little bit less fear, and maybe that's wrong. We can discuss that, but also with, not a sort of crazy excitement that thinks that from day 2 everything will be changed. You will have crazy productivity gains. Everyone knows it's going to be a long journey. So we have an approach where we say, yes, so we do invest, of course, a lot. It's 1.6 billion over the planned period for not only AI, right, for a whole technological transformation. We've identified 4 key use cases, so it's not a lot, 4 which we are completely certain of. They're all within the customer interaction and pricing areas that we know are no-brainers and everyone needs to implement them. Then we got 20 more use cases that we look at that are implemented in 1 or 2, 3 operating entities where we say there's something there. So we are sort of observing, mixing top-down approach with bottom-up, and that's pretty interesting. When it comes to my remit, I mean, to what we do on a daily basis, I think this is pretty new, that this change will affect probably very quickly and is already affecting everything we do on a daily basis. So we've already adopted, a certain number of tools to help speed that up, because my worry as a head of that function is more, I want to use that enthusiasm and that momentum to drive the change and not frustrate people who are seeing, in a whole lot of functions and applications that they use in their daily lives, how things are changing. So we need to be able to implement that fast.
Good. I mean, I think I should posit here, I'm a big fan of technological change, but I'm also probably my favorite soundbite that popped out of my mouth in a speech one day is, don't be the dog that barks at every passing car. So
exactly,
people fall in love with the shiny new, and sometimes it's worth being suspicious of, but to kind of join this conversation together in a strange way. Recently I had the privilege of doing a panel for the WFA in which one of the participants was Mark Ritson's bot, a large language model reproduced him. And it was extraordinary but spooky at the same time, because the human response from the audience was much bigger to the bot than it was to the human beings. And also, when you kind of look at that in the context of politics, in the context of sport, we could have done this with our bots. They could have had the same conversation if we chose. I mean, how are you thinking about the risk of that in the business? Is that an ethical discussion? Tell us a bit about that. It'd be great to know.
Absolutely. So it's a very interesting example you're raising, and I can quote one that shocked me to say the least. So we are testing Gen AI in our scripts with our customer services. And what we find is that Gen AI generated scripts tend to be more empathetic than what a human would write. And so that's shocking, of course. But you also see the benefit, right? So we are already enriching the way we deal, our teams are dealing with customers. So I absolutely agree with it. The first thing I did with my team when we really embarked on that journey was to say, wait a minute, we need guiding principles. That's the first thing we need. So before saying this is the use case we're going to develop, this is the technology we're going to choose, let's agree on a couple of principles. And I think what we clearly, our conviction to this date, and we said very clearly we will evolve it over time, is that we should have full transparency on what is AI generated and what is not, first to the outside world. So every time for example, our last future risk report featured imagery that was Gen AI created, and we said it. And then no unsupervised. So at least for the time being, we still believe that every content that will be even partly supported by AI technologies, we are still in a position that there's a human supervision at the end to check and to make sure that everything that is created that comes out of AXA in some way or form is still proved by a human being. Who knows how long this will be possible? So we need to be evolving and learning. And I fully agree with you. I think the topic where we, of course, as AXA do not yet have an answer, and where our societies are faced with, is really, the ability to deep fake absolutely everything, right? To an extent that is, and I don't think it's going to help the crisis of trust and truth that we're seeing around us, and that is causing so much political damage. So I think equipping us as corporates to that seems to me pretty important. We are funding with our research. We have a philanthropic research fund, the AXA Research Fund. We were always focused on funding research on, climate risks, health. We're increasingly driving funding to research that can help, ethical research. So how do you can still drive and keep an ethical compass while leveraging all those technologies. So probably a work in progress, but I think the important thing is to keep an open mind on that and not put it completely aside and get all, I would say, blindsided by the productivity gains and all the progress that you can make through technology only.
Fantastic. And then the question I was asking this panel was, is the CMO the impossible job? And a kind of subset of that is this endless polemic that marketeers seem to love to have, which about, is this role dead? And here you are the group chief communications, brand and sustainability officer. And I note the absence of the word marketing. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Of course. I can be very transparent about that. We did a reorganization when Thomas Buberl, the CEO, was appointed, and there was a governance restructuring that was redefining what was local and what was global, right? And not only on marketing, but on a number of topics, we took just the basic that insurance is we are a very decentralized organization. Marketing, customer experience, customer development, products are extremely locally defined. So at AXA, if you take AXA's portfolio, we're not selling the same products in two different entities. It's very different depending on geographies, etc. And so these were then functions that were decided not to have at group level, except for brand, which was part of the what we say more the regalian functions. So this is sort of the key framework that creates what we are as a company. And so we decided not to have a global marketing function anymore, aside from brand. In the meantime, what I see as a very interesting development is that marketing as a whole was not a very, I would say, well-regarded function across our operating entities. And what you see now is in 5-6 years' time, we've hired some amazing local marketeers who are actually now chief customer officers.
Okay.
So they embedded in this new concept. We have done incredible progress on customer satisfaction across the globe. So it's really very consistent. A lot of progress in product innovation in many areas, which tend to prove that maybe it was not such an absolutely critical function to hold at a group level. Which doesn't mean that it has lost its importance from a business standpoint. It's just a reality that we took the basis of how local the realities of customers are. And if you want to build a global customer strategy, you will have a nice framework, but nothing that a local person cannot implement without your support.
Fantastic, but I really think it's absolutely fundamental that you have nevertheless maintained brand. At the heart
there was
of the
no
business.
doubt about it. That was the interesting part, and I say this because I didn't have the job at that time, so I inherited that, and the brand was clearly the founding cement of, and it's probably one of the areas where we are the most directive in a very decentralized organization. So it's.
So just to end, and I think this is a question that will come from the wonderful Will Gilroy because he is a Liverpool fan. One of your global assets is the relationship you've got with Liverpool. But given everything we've been talking about, I'm intrigued in this summer of sport to know how you use that property and how does it help you build the brand.
So we're so proud of this. It's really one of the greatest assets. We didn't have any experience in sport sponsoring. It was completely new. And we were absolutely convinced that this was an amazing fit for us. I mean, you take our brand promise, "No, you can," and then you take "You never walk alone," and there's necessarily something that you can build together. We are now Liverpool Football Club's global training partner for the men's and the women's clubs. So I think that's really important. We named their respective training centers. So I always say we are the behind the scenes partner, right? We are the partner that is there, not on the day match. We're there as well, but we are there for everything that happens behind the scenes. And when you know how much training, how much effort, how much even mental efforts go into that sports performance, it makes us very proud to be with them. What it has helped us to achieve is great notoriety, especially in geographies that were really important for us in Asia. It has been absolutely amazing in terms of visibility for the brand. Has really was a real game changer for us. And what we love doing with that club is really working on topics that we care about jointly. So women's sports, mind health, sustainability topics, community resilience. So these are all topics that we try to leverage together. And yeah, we're very, very happily married, I would say. And
very happily married. That's
absolutely.
I love that. Well, listen, Ulrike, speaking of happily married, I know that on the one hand, you've got to do your results and on the other, your summer holiday beckons. So sadly, you won't get to enjoy much of the Olympics, but I have thoroughly enjoyed talking to you. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you, David. Thank you very much for the questions. Thank you for the great conversation.
Well, as always, I absolutely enjoyed that conversation. I thought Ulrike was succinct to the point and actually the best answer I've heard on why somebody isn't called a chief marketing officer. So again, thanks to Ulrike and thanks to all of you for listening and watching, and enjoy your summers. And I look forward to seeing you again very soon.